Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's podcast with myself and Ryan Babel. Ryan is obviously a professional footballer who knows a thing or two about our latest recruit, Ryan Gravenberch. First of all, Ryan, it's great to see you again. It's been, I think it's just over a year now, so
Oh
as
yeah,
much changed in your life.
already.
Yeah.
We are a year older again, but things are similar, same routine, different season. I
And you got a match tomorrow, is that right? Did you say?
got a match tomorrow. Yes, I'm in the hotel with the team. You know, same old, same stuff. When you have a game, preparations.
How are you guys doing? How are you getting on it? You seem to drop off a little bit towards the end of last season.
Yeah. We lost the playoffs last season, so we didn't make it to go a league higher. Right now, we have started pretty well. We are top of the league, 3 games, 3 wins. So hopefully we can keep that going.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So let's get into things then. So I don't. You'll pronounce it different than me. You know what we're like with our
Yeah,
pronunciations.
yeah, yeah.
But Ryan Gravenberch, is that right?
Probably in English it's right. I'm
Go
not
on then.
sure.
You say it.
In Dutch it's Gravenberch
Okay, I won't try that.
with a
Um,
hard C. Yes.
so we're expecting this deal to go through any minute, pretty much.
Yeah.
He arrived in Liverpool this morning, obviously
Yeah.
for his medical. Um, big deal. Big deal. What will he
Yes.
bring to Liverpool that we don't have already?
Good question. Good question. He's a box-to-box player. He's still, pretty young. He still has adds a lot of flair to his game, and even though he's a midfield player, in my opinion, he has enough creativity to make things happen, especially for the front players. With his true pass, the pass over the defenders. He has a great vision. Always want to try and play the ball forward. Obviously, Ajax academy player, so the basics in general are all there. And yeah, when he came up, obviously they would always kind of like tease him with the new Pogba. But in my opinion, I feel like there are similarities, but he is his own player. But that's, I think, you can expect a little bit more. I know that I'm not sure if it's correct, but I think Liverpool was looking for another number 6 holy midfielder.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think you would do him short to just play him there,
Mm.
because once he has the ability to also arrive in the box or be around the box and receive the ball there, he has great finishing. If he just have to play, from left to right and just be in front of the defense, I feel like you won't see his ultimate quality, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, a guy who can still make something happen from midfield onwards to the forward.
That's good. I've seen a few clips of him actually. He can hit the ball, can't he?
100%, 100%. Good right foot, also good vision. For the assist, and yeah, also in defense. He can track back, he can tackle, and I still believe there's so much more potential. With him, with his body strength. I'm sure he already gained a lot in his time in Germany. But compared to when I played with him in 2019-20, I already see much growth. So I think there's still room for much more growth.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that, so he must have been what, 19, maybe 18 at that time.
18, yes, 18. So, he just came up. I think it was that year that I was there. I think that was his first official season being with the first team. He played, I think, some games the season prior to that. But he was an official player. He played the majority of the games. You could tell, a young player, not necessarily consistent yet, but already good enough, in my opinion, to understand why he was a regular at that time already. And yeah, the season before he left for Bayer, he had his best season for Ajax. Was a regular in the first 11. Had a good season in Champions League, obviously. And so yeah, I understand why Liverpool would want to sign him.
Yeah, so you mentioned Bayern Munich. So why do you think it didn't work out for him at Bayern?
Well, if I believe, I think right now they don't play really with the system that he played. They play with two holy midfielders, you know.
Mm,
So he has to either play one of the two sixes, which
mm.
doesn't really put him in the right, position and play style, in my opinion. So I feel like that's why he didn't really fit in with Bayer.
Right.
And I think that's, I guess, the main reason why it didn't work out.
Yeah. So obviously, the fee reported right now is 40 million euros, 34 million pounds. Um, it seems quite cheap to me, if I'm being
Yeah.
completely honest with you. And I know that sounds really silly because we're talking 30 odd million pound, but in the
Yes.
current market, people are going out and spending 105 millions on Declan Rice's and
Yeah.
110 million on the Enzo at
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Ridiculous.
It's,
Ridiculous.
the market's gone crazy, as you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
34 million for me, it seems to give us it seems to take the pressure off him, as daft as that sounds, because it's
Yeah.
not extortionate price. So we would
Yeah.
obviously link with Caicedo, who went to Chelsea,
Yeah.
110 plus. I think
Yeah.
if he'd have come in and he didn't perform, he would have been
Yeah.
under serious pressure. But yeah,
Yeah.
34 million sort of gives us that freedom to develop him as well.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's right?
And I think it's fair too. Like, look, he went to Bayern Munich. He was never able to be a real regular for Bayern. So again, he still has a lot to prove. He still has to develop,
Mhm.
and I think he knows that too. And I think he's definitely grateful to for Liverpool to give him that chance. And I think with the price and everything, I think it fits perfectly. Like, he is talented. I believe he does has a big potential to become even more world class. But yeah, right now it's Liverpool's job, and of course the manager's job to help him develop and reach his full potential. So hopefully he can do that at Liverpool.
And I don't know how much you're involved in his personal life, but have you dropped him a message?
Actually, I spoke to him the very first time when he got linked to Liverpool. I think that was a few months ago. So I already had a small chat, and we've been chatting, and he was like, still like, yeah, I don't know if Bayer, gonna let me go, but yeah, let's see what happens, right? And yeah, I dropped him actually a message yesterday, so he's very excited. I told him, you're gonna enjoy the club, the city, the fans, the whole, atmosphere, and so he was excited. He was really excited.
Well, you know what it's like to live here. Did you give him any places or any tips of where to go?
No, no, we haven't gone in that depth yet. But definitely, of course, if I have a chance, then I give him. But I'm sure he's in great hands with Virgil and you know Cody already. So I'm sure he will be fine.
Well, we hope so. We hope so, and I'm
Yeah,
sure he will. You know what we're like as people in this city. It's very welcoming. So,
of course.
um, okay. So his name, like you mentioned, his name has been touted to move to Liverpool for quite some time, and it seems that Jurgen has been after Ryan for quite some time as well.
Right.
Why do you think it took so long? Do you think this is just Bayern playing hard to get?
Buyers seem to be a difficult club to do business with. And I heard that before. So yeah, probably they might first wanted to see if there was still a chance for him to convince them in preseason. And since now the league has started and they maybe have their team together, they were like, okay, well, we might not need Ryan that much, so now we are willing to do business. So I guess the first time around, they still weren't sure to try and get rid of him, but right now, I guess they made up their minds.
Well, it's clearly a difficult place to play your football, as we've seen with Sadio Mane last season. So people tend to think that if you go somewhere and it doesn't quite work out, that you've actually failed. But that's the opposite. Sometimes it's just not the right time or the right place, is it?
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's also my experience, right? We tend to think that a player naturally would do well anywhere where they go, right?
Yeah.
It's a football is like literally it's like a puzzle, and if the puzzle doesn't necessarily fit with the other puzzles, then unfortunately, yeah, it doesn't work out. And we have seen so many times, right? Another great example was, or is maybe, Donny van de Beek, who was an Ajax a superstar and went to Man United, and yeah, it just doesn't fit, And there are plenty examples of players who are talented, who are maybe great players, but then they end up choosing a team that doesn't fit them. And
Yeah.
then yeah, that situation has to be sorted to find their niche and their team back and their playing style. And yeah, that happens. That's football.
Okay, so I've seen a picture of Ryan in a Liverpool shirt. Now, is this because he's an actual fan, or did he just get slipped one from you one time?
That's a great question. I'm not sure actually. I have no idea. I have no idea. But I mean, look, I think he obviously have paid attention to Liverpool development over the years, and again, in my opinion, after the Fernando Torres era, I felt like Liverpool went through a phase where it was maybe not so lucrative for players to join Liverpool, but I feel like since we have Jurgen Klopp and how he was able to, revise the whole fighting for titles and the ambition. I feel like a lot of players now also want to join Liverpool naturally. So he's not naive. I'm sure he did his homework before he wanted to join. So yeah, I'm sure he's a fan.
Yeah, okay, so a couple of last questions because I know you've got stuff to do. First of all, I'm sure when people are listening to this later on, they will want to know where the Babel copter is,
Where the what?
where the Ryan Babel chopper is. Where are
The
you off on?
chopper. Oh yeah, the chopper always deadline day makes a lot of miles. He's anywhere.
Okay, and
Yeah,
obviously, last question. It's just that it's something off subject. To be honest with you,
yeah,
um, I want to know your thoughts on this. So, obviously, the Saudi Pro League, it's blowing numbers out of the water, left, right, and centre.
yeah.
Today, obviously, the bid for Mohamed Salah,
Oh
150
yeah,
million.
oh yeah,
Um, I mean, personally, I don't think we can afford to do that right now. I
yes,
think he's invaluable at this moment, let's say.
yeah, yes.
Um, what are your thoughts on this whole development at Saudi?
There are a few, of course, opinions and perspectives that I have, right? So, in general, I guess we want always to see our best players to play in Europe for the best teams, right?
Hmm.
You want to see them play in the Champions League, you want to see them compete, um, and that's as a football fan, you want to see that, right? Then you have, on the other hand, from a footballer's perspective, depending on where they at in their career, often it's like, I guess you have to see that as a once in a lifetime opportunity to also, let's say, set yourself up for the rest of your life, right? Because even though we tend to think that football is everything, and I feel like yes, football is definitely part of everyone's lives, whether you're a fan or a football player, but there's so much more than football, right? Especially also if you look today's what happened in the world. Um, Look, there are a lot of people who want to also contribute and help, right? And most of the time, like I feel like Sadio Mane, for example, is a great example that we know is how much he does gives back to his community and his country for being able to earn so much money, right?
Yeah,
So again, everyone has their own situation where they contribute or not, but I do understand from a footballer's perspective why they would choose that move, because yeah, they would never earn that in Europe, right?
yeah,
But again, yeah, if you ask me regarding Mo Salah on deadline day, you want to compete, I wouldn't sell him. But if you, let's say, you still had 1.5 months to, let's say, find replacement, as a business perspective, I would definitely think about it, since Mo Salah's 31. You get. I read it was already now pushed up to 200 million or something, maybe in euros. I don't know
mhm,
in pounds, but again, that's a business decision, right? But as of now, it's deadline day. You cannot most likely of you cannot find a replacement. Mo Salah's the core. attacker to try and lead the other attackers now in front line. Like if you lose Mo Salah right now, yeah, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned it can set you up for life moving to Saudi. Now, listen, I'm going to say this from a normal person's perspective.
Right,
I haven't been lucky enough to earn this money per week that footballers do, but they obviously
right,
they earn that money for a reason. They've worked hard all of their life, the commitments they've
right,
put in for this, and obviously people are now saying, well, they're already set for life, so why do they want to do that more? Well,
right.
you know yourself, you're not
Yes,
just a footballer, you're a businessman outside of things as
yes,
well. So this will obviously help your ventures elsewhere as well. So I think people they're too keen to say, listen, I'm on the fence with it because I know
yeah,
how
yeah,
sensitive the Saudi, Human Rights Act and things like that are. It's a touchy
yeah, yeah,
subject.
yeah.
Um,
Yes,
but there's two sides to every story, isn't there?
of course, of course, of course. And again, I understand the perspective often from let's say a fan, but
Mhm.
what you often in reality find is that you as you are starting to earn more money, you also start to take on a lot more responsibilities other than just yourself. Yes, we as our individual could maybe be set for life, but all of a sudden subconsciously we've been now taking responsibilities of more families or
Yeah.
more people, you know and so yeah, you need more money to maintain those people, right? so so that's just the reality, right? I feel like people who start to earn money, and especially if it's a lot of money, they not tend to just think about themselves only, right? They start
Mm.
to now take on more responsibilities, so whether they're able to do it or not. And then they realize like, oh geez, the monthly or the yearly annual burden is actually a big keep up. It's not something that I can maintain if I would, let's say, stop playing football today. So yeah, we still have to make sure, we put that safe. So again, I'm not talking for everyone, but what I see around myself is often that's the case. So it's not just you as individual. Oh, we are set for life. Why would you go to Saudi if you're already, No, it's
Yeah.
often also the rest and outside that people don't see.
And how is not so little Ryan, your little boy now? Because every time I see him on your Instagram and that, mate, he's massive.
He's 13 years old. He's already taller than me, and he has a bigger shoe size than me. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's really tall, but yeah, he of course he has aspirations to become a football player. Whether it happens or not, of course, we're gonna try and see how he develops in the next few years. I feel like it's important. But yeah, maybe one day he's good enough to join the academy in Liverpool, and then from there, let's see. He's very tall, so I assume he could either become a very good striker or a very good defender. So let's see how he
Let's see.
develops.
All right. Well, listen, thanks very much for your time tonight, mate. This is live on a couple of social medias. My first live this, so I haven't even put anything out about this. So I'm going to get this all edited up. I'm going to put it on obviously the music streaming platforms. But again, I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do tonight because I know you like to keep busy on transfer deadlines.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but it's always good to see you, and it's been an
Always,
absolute pleasure again, Ryan.
no problem. Pleasure's mine.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Speak soon.